Hello guys, my name is BJ Min, the publisher of HowExpert.com, where we publish short how-to guides on unique topics by everyday experts. And today we have a special interview with one of our expert authors. His name is Michael Leonard. He's the author of the book called Scratch Golfer 2.0, How I Cut 50 Shots from My Game, Now Shoot in the 70s, and Became a Scratch Golfer. He's also the owner, the website creator of supermillennial.com, where he teaches millennials how to find your passion, earn more money, live your life on your own terms, and live your dreams. He's also an author of several different books that he did, a couple books as of right now. Other than this particular book, he has another book called Advice for My Younger Self. Another book about cooking tips, low-carb diet and cookbook. A little bio. I want to read a bio about Michael before we get started with the interview. Michael Leonard has been a golfer his whole life with 20 years of experience. He has achieved the goal of becoming a scratch golfer as he carries a +2 handicap and has started shooting under par in tournaments. He's currently involved in several amateur and mini tours in Arizona and is working on becoming a professional in the near future. On top of that, what's interesting about Michael is that he's very ambitious. You can tell in his bio page. Michael is a millennial who attended a public high school in Oregon and graduated from Cal State San Marcos in 2010. While attending school, he often questioned the courses required and wondered why more practical topics aren't taught or emphasized in school. Topics like money management, understanding credit, or how to make money. Instead, he was stuck taking classes like calculus and anthropology. These classes, of course, have made zero impact on his everyday life. In the 6 years since graduating, he has navigated the real world very successfully. He has worked for a tech company that went public and earned 4 promotions. He is now in the highest national sales position of the company. Outside of work, he has become obsessed with learning about investing, money management, and gaining financial freedom. At 30 years old as of right now, he was able to buy his first house with 20% down and maintain a credit score of over 800. He was able to do that at age 27, by the way. He since started a blog, supermillennial.com, to help others manage their finances and gain control of their financial future. Outside of his personal finance and helping others live a great life, he enjoys Taco Bell, golf, and anything Batman related. For more frequent updates from this knowledgeable and witty author, go check out his website, subscribe to his blog at supermillennial.com. Michael, thanks for coming to the show. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing well. I appreciate the introduction there.
Awesome, awesome. So let's learn about the book a little bit. You wrote about Scratch Golfer 2.0. For those people who may not know what scratch golf is, what is the definition of scratch golfing?
Yeah, so scratch golf is basically playing a round of golf at par. So each hole has a par 3, 4, or 5, and then you have 18 holes. The normal round of golf is a par 72. And basically, my goal with this ebook was to teach people some of the strategies that you need to shoot in the low 70s and right around even par golf.
Awesome. Can you explain to us how you got started in golf? What was your background story? How did you get involved in golf?
I actually got started in kind of middle school and heading into high school. It was the only sport I played heading into high school. I was 4'10" entering in. So
really? In high school, you were only 4'10" at the time?
Yeah, I would have got just killed if I played football, and wasn't going to do much in basketball. So golf was my one sport that I really felt good about, even though I at the time was definitely not very good. So that's part of the subtitle is how I cut 50 shots. Because when I did start, getting going in the game, I was definitely not a childhood prodigy or someone that was born into greatness or anything. It was just a lot of hard work and figuring out what it takes, and a lot of tough days and a lot of practice. But been able to get there and played it all through high school, and then went to Cal State San Marcos and walked on for a couple of years. And,
what do you mean by walk on? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so I didn't get a scholarship or anything like that. It was basically just go down there, I really wanted to go to school there and move away from Oregon, just change it up, and was really liking the atmosphere down there. I thought I could make the team, and I was able to try out and in an open tryout and walk on. And so I was able to qualify and beat a few other people out, and then I was able to do it again for the second year since I basically redshirted the first year, so it's not counting towards your eligibility. So I had to do it 2 years, so I was successfully able to do it for both of them.
Now, you played in high school for 4 years?
4 years, yep.
And college, you played the whole 4 years as well?
2 years in college.
Oh, your first 2 years when you got into college.
Yep.
Did you take a break or something?
I did, yeah. So I had a very, very sizable break. So basically at 19, I finished almost through the season of the second year and just realized this wasn't exactly where my goals were at the time. I felt like I was spread pretty thin with school and other activities. So I wanted to focus more on that side of things. So I did go ahead and pull back from the golf, and I probably gave it up for like 6-7 months. And then for the next 10 years, I really just played for fun, very casually with my friends and family, nothing serious at all. And then last year, I really kind of took it back up, and it was I guess a long break, but it made me realize how much I missed the game. And we had booked a trip to go play Pebble Beach for a bucket list item with my family. And I realized, if I'm going to go and play one of the best courses in the world, I really should make sure my game is back to, peak performance. So I was able to practice a lot and focus on it, and learned a lot of new stuff that I didn't know when I was 19, and, started reading some more psychology books and different practice routines, and really just found the love of the game again, and started playing a lot. And then we were able to go to Pebble Beach, have a great time. And then once I got back, I actually started playing tournament golf again. And it's been about a year now since I've been on 3 to 4 different tours here in Arizona.
I'm curious, what age did you first achieve scratch golf status?
A senior year. So I was 17 at the time. So again, scratch golf's usually in the low 70s, about 72. One of my first rounds was actually senior year, my first tournament. And just to put it into perspective, first tournament of my freshman year, I shot a 122 or 124, something like that. Really, really bad. But my coach, Coach York, always believed in me, and thought there was a lot of opportunity, and knew that I had a good work ethic. So
now let's talk about that. You went from 120 to hitting the 70s. Like, what are the core lessons that you learned that you can share with other beginners out there who want to?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, just I guess the couple of biggest things are, when you are practicing, you got to definitely practice the right things. You go out there, and anytime you go to a course, usually you're going to see a lot of amateur golfers just hitting balls mindlessly. They're really not out there practicing with purpose. It's a lot of fun to go out there and Happy Gilmore it and see how often you can hit drivers and have fun. But if you really want to achieve scratch golf, you have to practice with purpose. You have to practice your routine. And you have to focus a lot more on the stuff that isn't always as glamorous as the driver. And that's going to be a lot of emphasis on the short game, a lot of putting, chipping, and really just learning how to hit a lot of different shots. Just because once you get under the 80 even, once you're really trying to get those last few shots down, it's very similar to when you're getting fit. That last little bit seems to be the hardest. So you really have to focus and get really, really good at the little things at that point.
That's a good point you made. Practice with a purpose. Can you elaborate and give examples of practicing without a purpose versus practicing with the purpose for people who may not have a mentor, but you know the difference? What's the difference?
Definitely. Yeah, I think the majority of it is actually having a plan before you go out there. It's kind of like when you go to the gym, if you just walk in and decide what you're going to do there, it's usually not nearly as effective as if you head out in the morning, exactly you're gonna do XYZ exercises. The same thing with golf. You want to make sure when you're heading out, you say, hey, I got an hour and a half of time here after work or on the weekend, and I'm going to practice 30 minutes hitting these shots on the range. I'm going to practice 30 minutes sand shots, bunkers, short game area, and then another 30 minutes just working on putting, and really just going out there and like almost setting a timer, even like holding yourself accountable. So that way you're going out there and not just wasting time, because with golf, when you do practice a lot, you can ingrain habits. But a lot of times if you practice too much and you're not practicing, the right stuff, or you don't have a coach and you're kind of out there just figuring it out, or, trying to do it on your own, you can ingrain bad habits, and those are really hard to break. So I definitely think when you go out, just spend time, less is more is kind of my thing. Instead of getting that giant bucket of golf balls, take the smallest one and work on every single ball, have a spot you're going to aim at, and really focus on what you want to achieve instead of just mindlessly practicing.
Wow, very good advice. It's kind of like business too. You focus on the Pareto principles, the 20% that makes a 80% impact. You want to focus with purpose. Sounds like it.
Exactly.
Let me ask you this. So you took a little bit break. Maybe there's some people out there who play golf as well, but you can be an inspiration to other people who take a break. But you decided to get back into golf competitively. What made you get back into competitive golf again? And you can inspire other people as well.
Yeah, I think just knowing that, age isn't really that important with golf. You see a lot of people that are, in their, mid to late 40s and, on the PGA Tour even, and they're playing some of their best golf ever. So I think there's a misconception with sports and golf on age. Certainly there are some advantages to being younger, but at the same time, I think I'm so much better than I ever was in college because I have a lot more experience. I don't have the anger side of things, just have a better understanding of the game. And I think when you look back on, if you're 20 or if you're 30, that, you just change a lot as a person. So I think if you go out there with the right attitude, what you want to accomplish, there's really nothing stopping you out there. There's a lot of opportunity, obviously a lot of great players, but if you really want it and practice, and figure out that it's not always just about golf too. I've spent a lot of time, reading a lot of psychology books to understand, how to get better on the mental side of things, just because that's a huge part of golf. So you can practice all you want, but if you're not focusing on your mental routine and how you stay, emotion-wise, you need to keep those in check, just because golf's a, 4 to 5 hour event. A lot can happen out there. So keeping your mind right, and then also your fitness. So I spent a lot of time doing golf-specific workouts and just being in overall really good shape. So that way you're, avoiding injuries, staying flexible, and able to make the most out of your game. So I think the biggest thing is don't let age, dictate if you're ready to give it another try.
That's really good advice, and it's good inspirational advice there, because I've heard other golfers say, "Oh, I'm too old now, so I stopped golfing," But that's awesome right there. You mentioned a really interesting point that what has impacted your game that most people wouldn't think of, because most people probably think of it's all about techniques, but you say it's the mentality, the psychology. What lessons outside the golf techniques has impacted you to become a better golfer that you can share with other people?
Yeah, definitely. I think you nailed it there. I think most people, when they think of golf, it's just like, wow, he has a great swing, or wow, he hits it really far. But that's just a part of it, and when you get to a certain level, when everyone's really, really good, it's the little things, like you mentioned, that are going to separate, the good from great. And if you're getting, in the top 5 or top 10 or actually winning. And like you said, I think psychology is going to be huge on it. I've played in a lot of tournaments in the last year, probably, I think 40 or 50 days of tournaments, if not more. And I've been playing with anywhere from, 17-year-olds to, 50-year-olds. You play with everything, and you can really see all the differences that people have. But one of the most common traits I've seen amongst players that are really, really high level is that they're very even keel. They do not have too much frustration. It's a tough game, don't make it any harder on yourself. So if you can just go out there, have your, breathing under control, have your emotions in check. As soon as you hit a shot, it's over with. Don't get mad and, throw clubs and have a bad attitude until you get up to the next shot, because it's just going to play with your psyche. And so I've really taken a big notice to that, because when you are younger, you're more emotional usually, and you get frustrated easier. Your expectations are really high on yourself, and you're usually hard on yourself. But the older you get, usually you can differentiate really when you need to have your emotions with you to help you, and when you need to stay cool if something goes wrong or you have some bad breaks out there. So I think it's just being able to stay consistent and not really letting anything affect you. If you have a great hole, you can show some emotion, but if you have a horrible hole, you just keep moving forward. It's in the past. You don't think about it, and you just keep going forward.
Let me ask you this. That's awesome. What is your, just because I'm sure there's other golfers watching this, maybe in your situation, maybe your age, you want to get back into golf. What is your biggest strength as a golfer now? And also challenges, weaknesses that you can share, because everyone has challenges and weaknesses, but, you know, just to be authentic, there's people out there who can resonate with you, you know?
Totally. I think the last year, you know, like I said, I went all in when I realized, like, hey, I only have so much time here to really, you know, give it my all. So I enrolled in tournaments that, you know, from U.S. Open qualifiers to top amateur tournaments to, you know, local men's events. Like, I did everything. So my goal was to exactly do that, to find my weaknesses, so that way I could figure out, you know, what is really going to happen. Because when you're out there playing with your friends or just playing with a group of guys or somebody you just join up with, that's very different than when you get in a tournament situation. You know, when you get in a tournament, you start to have nerves, and then you really start to see where your misses are, where you could improve. And so I started to find that, you know, it was definitely the shots that were 100 yards and in, and, you know, those should be the easiest, you'd think. But at the same time, unless you're practicing a lot, like, those are ones where you can lose feel and not always be the sharpest. So I've spent so much time focusing on the shorter shots, and I feel like in the last 2 months I've achieved a lot more for that, and I'm excited for this next season, just because I realize, and I look back after my last year of tournaments, I keep stats after every round and say, hey, I could improve this, improve that, and I started to see some common tendencies there. So I've really just been working on those. And I would say my strength in my game is definitely the distance and longer part of the game. So I have, you know, like I said, really focused a lot on the exercise and fitness, and feel like that helps a lot, just because if you're able to hit it, you know, pretty straight and, you know, really long at a good driver distance, you can make the game a lot easier. But like I said, if you don't have the short game, then it's a waste. So that's really where I've been focusing a lot more. And then also on putting, you know, I mean, when you get to play with some of these unbelievable players that I've played with, you start to see that, you know, everyone hits it pretty far. Everyone hits it, you know, relatively close. It's who makes the most putts that really differentiates what wins and, you know, what loses a tournament. I'm
not a golfer myself, but I like how you, an analogy, I like how you say you admit your weakness. I like that, because by knowing your weakness, you can improve yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. I think a lot of people avoid what they're bad at with golf, just because there's so many components of the game. You know, it's not like a lot of other sports where it's just one or two things you're working on. You know, you have, you know, like I said, 4 to 6 hours you're going to be out there, and you're hitting shots in the wind, in the sand, you know, over trees, under trees. You just have a lot to work on always with golf. So I think once you figure out, like, hey, I need to improve my driving, or I need to improve my irons or wedges, like whatever it is, if you just start focusing on it, you're going to get better. You know, obviously if you focus on it, you can identify it, and then from there you can figure out a plan if you need to get a coach, or if you need to watch some videos, you know, read a book, whatever it is. You just have to figure it out, and then you know, turn a weakness into a strength.
Awesome. Let me ask you this. This is this book, Scratch Golfer 2.0. What is your biggest piece of advice for someone who wants to be a scratch golfer, who's never achieved that, but who wants to achieve that once, for everyday people out there?
Yeah, for everyday people, I would honestly say it's just like we talked about earlier, it's just spending time on the right things. You know, if you want to be a scratch golfer, usually you have to, you know, practice a lot. You got to have the time for it. And obviously, you know, a lot of people have full-time jobs, they have families, but they still want to achieve that, you know, on the golf course, even if it's just to prove it to themselves or to beat their friends or people at their club. So it's really just about practicing smart, because you're not always going to have 4 to 6 hours a day to go out there and practice and everything. So the biggest thing I would say is just to practice, you know, the right way, like I said, with a purpose. And then also finding other players that are really good, you know, whether that be someone you know, maybe know at work, or that you know at your club. Like, when you surround yourself with people that are already, you know, really good, you're going to learn from them, and you're going to advance faster. It's the same way in business, same way in fitness, you know, whatever you're trying to achieve. If you play with those people, if you're around them more, you're just going to pick up on some of their tendencies. You can pick their brain and really understand, like, how they play and what you can implement into your game.
Quick question about maybe some quick tips about practice with a purpose. I love that. That's awesome. Like, for everyday people, maybe they don't know. They don't have a coach. They just go out there and just shoot all day, you know, with a all day, all night long. But practice with a purpose. Is there something maybe practical, 1 or 2 things that you would recommend them to do when they go to the golf course?
I always have a 2-to-1 ratio, and I talk about it a lot more in the book. Basically spending, say you have 90 minutes to practice, you should spend basically break it up into chunks. So you should spend 30 minutes, on the driving range. You can work on your full swing, you can work on your irons, wedges, and then another 30 minutes is going to be in the short game area. So you're going to be working on your sand shots, your chipping, and then another half hour on putting. So what that does is gives you 60 minutes of those 90 that are focused on the short game. So once you practice more of that short game, you're gonna get a lot better, just because that's really where you can improve. I once shot an even par 72 and I hit 2 greens in regulation. I know you're not a golfer, but just to give you perspective, the average player I think hits on the tour about 14 greens, and they can shoot around even par. I only hit 2 greens in regulation, but I had a really good short game, so I was able to chip it close, make a lot of putts. And if you don't have a lot of time and you want to get better, but you just need to focus on the right stuff when you're practicing, I would 100% say spend it on the short game area, just because you can improve dramatically and make a really, really big impact on your game a lot faster than going and finding a coach, working on your swing, changing it all. That's a lot of time, a lot of effort, and if you really want to streamline the process, just spend it on the short game.
Awesome. Thank you for the advice. Awesome. So you're aspiring to be a professional golfer, correct?
Yes, that is the plan.
I admire that. I mean, even at an older age, because I hear younger people, they're good at what they do, but they decide to go on to other things because they were told, hey, I'm too old. Nothing against that, but
oh yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah, but you have that determination. I could sense that already.
I just don't want to look back and have any regrets. That's the biggest thing in golf or life. I just like to go out there and pursue what I'm passionate about. And I've seen the progress I've been able to make, and done a lot on my own, and had a lot of help with some great coaches and stuff. So just knowing, believing in yourself, and spending a lot of time practicing. I think anything's possible.
Awesome. And for those of you guys who are interested, go to his website called supermillennial.com. This is his website. Earn more money, develop your passion, create success. How you do anything is how you do everything. If you're successful with golf, you're probably successful with other aspects of your life. So you can learn from Michael here, okay? In his book, he has other additional books, Advice for My Younger Self, Low Carb Diet and Cookbook. I'm sure you're going to come out with more books in the future.
Yeah, I got a few more in line, so I'm excited to have the golf book out there too.
Absolutely, and this is Scratch Golfer 2.0 right here. This is the new book. If you want to learn how to achieve Scratch Golf status, there will be a link below the video for all these resources. Again, Michael, thanks for being on the show. I appreciate you. I wish you the best of success in your golf journey and all aspects of your life. Thank you very much for being on.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Take care.
All right, have a good one.
You too.